Ali Abdelaziz over the last few days has been on quite the tear through the media, almost confirming for a fact that he does, in fact, run his fighters' social media pages. Let's get into it right now. We'll start with a great video from Combat Capital. We'll just take a quick preview of this, take a listen, take a watch, check out the full video after you watch this video right here on this guy's channel.
Ali Abdelaziz, terrorist snitch.
To New York City on September 11, 2001. He was caught with 5 passports in his possession. He turned informant and turned on the people that he was working with.
Really? Why is he not allowed to leave the US?
I think he might have had a checkered past, so to speak, to put it lightly. You can Google's your friend. There's a few things online about some of the activity that he's been involved with.
You're acting like Dana White. You're acting like a bully. You are. And you're getting too emotional, and you're trying to intimidate people, and you're trying to intimidate the media.
Ali Abdelaziz, not only the biggest manager of fighters in the MMA industry, but also one of the most controversial figures in the entire sport.
He's gonna get what's coming to him, man. He's a little terrorist rat. He's already got enough people. He's an FBI informant.
You should keep distance from the informant at all times.
Ever since Conor McGregor famously called out Ali at a press conference before his fight with Khabib,
His manager is a snitch, terrorist rat.
people have speculated about just how dark the past of Mr. Abdelaziz is, but just how much of it is true. Today, we seek to uncover both the truths and falsehoods, separate fact from fiction, and discover just who is Ali Abdelaziz.
So, fantastic video again by Combat Capital here. Go take a look at this after you watch this one here with me. But some of this is true, some of it is not true. You'll get into it. You'll figure it out once you learn this video. I encourage you heavily to go check out this video. It's very interesting, very fun. Ali Abdelaziz, obviously very controversial in the world of MMA, but the past couple of days have been quite rough for this guy. Of course, we've all speculated as MMA fans that this guy is running the fighters like Islam Makhachev, Khabib, Justin Gaethje, Magomed Ankalaev. We've suspected that he is running their social media accounts, and so he believes that somehow Justin Gaethje, who is 1-1 in his last 2 fights, deserves this over a Charles Oliveira, over an Arman Sarukian, who is on a heck of a run as of the last few years. Somehow to him this makes absolute sense. We all know why. It's because he manages Justin Gaethje. There is that bias there, no doubt. Of course, he's going to push for his guy, but it just doesn't make any sense, and to justify it with these numbers that completely contradict what he is trying to say is just foolish. And then not only that, but the whole big Ankh thing that Ankalaev's been posting about, we say Ankalaev, but we know that it's really Ali Abdelaziz. Take a listen.
And then when we were texting about this interview, you called him Big Ankh, and I actually I've never heard you call Big Ankh. Yeah, Ankalaev. You call him Big Ankh.
That's what he wants everybody to call him.
Yeah.
That if you don't call him like that, he's gonna have a problem. You have to call him Big Ankh. This is his name.
Big Ankh. Okay. And then
so now Ali is making the demands that you call him Big Ankh. Since when has Magomed Ankalaev ever said anything in such a demanding way on the microphone? The guy's a great fighter, but he has no such personality, makes no such demands as a fighter, as a man himself, very humble kind of guy. This is Ali speaking for Ankalaev because he thinks this is going to make some name for himself. Think about the other day, well, in this interview when he was talking about the Jack Della Maddalena fight, just absolute absurdity.
Jack is not ready. This belt will be Islam will fight for the belt, not an interim belt, for a real UFC belt. Islam will fight this year, regardless if Maddalena injured, not injured, hurt. This is the word was given to me by Hunter, by Dana, by everybody. He said Jamal Hill got injured. We vacated him. Islam will fight for a title, and these guys give their word is gold to me. They always whatever they say they do, and he will fight someone. It can be anybody, but Jack Maddalena is the champion. Congratulations, Islam will fight him. But Jack is not ready. This belt will be Islam will fight for the belt, not an interim belt, for a real UFC belt.
So again, John Jones gets to not fight for his title or unify the interim and lineal heavyweight championship belt, but meanwhile, Jack Della Maddalena, having just defeated Bilal Muhammad, will now have to vacate his belt if he cannot make it to a fight in time. We don't just make interim belts for no reason, Ali, but he seems to think for his fighters and for his personal sanctity that that is absolute fact. I mean, he just keeps going and going and going.
He will have the 2 belts on top of his shoulder because he's still the lightweight champion. Islam, the pound for pound #1 king. You understand? He never lost his title. The deal was if Bilal win, Ilya Islam will fight. That was the deal. And and if Islam can get a chance to fight a welterweight title, but there was no conversation Islam was going to fight Bilal. This was never going to happen. With these guys, brothers. Habib wasn't having it. I wasn't having it. Islam wasn't having it. We will stick to our word, and as you know, all these guys, they stick to their word, and everybody supports Bilal. And I believe Islam will be the welterweight champion, and he'll be a double champion. He will have the 2 belts on top of his shoulder.
That's all fine and dandy, Ali, but he will not have the 2nd belt wrapped over his shoulder because he just vacated that title. I don't know what you are talking about. Ilya must vacate his title and does not deserve to be a double champ, and therefore Islam then vacating the title does then deserve to be the full double champ. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. This guy is contradictory in every way, shape, and form. And we remember back a couple of years ago when Kayla Harrison, one of his biggest fighters, was fighting Larissa Pacheco and losing her fight. Ali, obviously her manager, close with her, loves her as family because he's a manager, he's close with her, but you do not get to go step into her corner if you are not one of her 4 cornermen, okay? And now he gets in trouble for yelling, screaming directions to Kayla from the corner. Take a watch, take a listen to this.
Look, Ali's going over.
Might you wonder why he is doing this? Because this is the $1 million championship fight over there in the PFL. All the money in the world on the line, her contract, and the $1 million. This would be his biggest payday of the entire year. He takes anywhere from 10 to 20% off the top of his fighters' full payment from the fighting, okay? $1 million would have netted him $100,000. Now check this out. The New York State Athletic Commission head figure here comes over to tell him to stop because this is illegal and against the rules, and yet he just shrugs it off as if it is nothing. Of course, this guy is not going to try to cause a scene, but this is illegal, and Ali clearly a little bit obsessed here. I mean, come on. I get being behind your fighter. You're her manager, you're her close friend, but you do not get to do this. You have to be emotionless. You are doing what is best for the fighter when it comes to contracts and negotiations, but not this kind of mess. This is unacceptable, and we'll get into this as well. Years ago, in the UFC Antitrust lawsuit, Ali Abdelaziz took to the stand and said this: the terms of fighters' contracts are typically subject to a confidentiality provision for many of the fighters I represent. The confidentiality of these terms is very important. Many fighters do not want the terms of their contracts, including the compensation and benefits, to be publicly disclosed. For some fighters, public disclosure of such information raises legitimate safety concerns for them and their families, including making them targets of kidnapping and extortion schemes. In addition to safety concerns, some of their fighters I represent have communicated to me that the desire to keep their compensation, benefits, and obligations under the contract confidential for privacy and other reasons, including to avoid requests for money from friends and family. Public disclosure of the terms and compensation of fighters' agreements may also hinder me in obtaining the best possible deal for a fighter and give a strategic advantage to the MMA promoters in negotiations with fighters, which may ultimately work to the detriment of the fighters. Now, you can agree or disagree with this statement from him. Have it with whichever way you want, but he took this in defense of the UFC. He is a manager of the fighters, of the people that fight in the UFC, and this was UFC versus the fighters, and this guy was taking the defense of the UFC. He's a manager of human beings, not the company of the UFC. So although you may agree with what he is saying, this is something that could be said by a family member or friend of fighters, and therefore, a manager of these guys should not be taking the side of the company that the people that he represents are fighting against. That is absolutely ridiculous, and that absolutely sums up who Ali Abdelaziz is as a person. Seems to be quite the shady character. Is some of the stuff that Conor McGregor said about him in the past incorrect? I will say yes, absolutely incorrect. Some of the rumors do not stand up to the facts, but this guy definitely is not one of the good guys of the sport, and that's where I'll end it today. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.